Brazil is a country located in the continent of South America in the northeast. It is the fifth biggest country in the world, with 8,516 million kilometers squared. Its official language is Portuguese, and its population is of 207 million. Its capital is Brasilia. The accrued birth rate is of 14.1 births per 1,000. The accrued death rate is of 6.7 deaths per 1,000. The fertility rate is 7.4. The children per woman is 1.75. The male life expectancy is 70.2. The female life expectancy is 77. The child mortality rate for males is 21.2 deaths per 1,000. The child mortality rate for females is 14.7 deaths per 1,000. The GDP per capita is of 14,810. As seen in this graph, life expectancies in Brazil has stagnated at 32 years from the 18,000 until 1935. In 1918, the life expectancy dropped to around 27 when Brazil participated in World War I. In 1935, life expectancy had a rapid increase from 32 years to 52 years during the years 1935 to 1955. From 1955, the increase slowed down. In present day, the life expectancy is of around 75 years old. Birth rate, on the other hand, has gone down since the 18,000s. From 18,000s to 1880s, the birth rate was about 43 children per 1,000. In 1880, at the end of Brazilian monarchy, birth rate jumped to 55 children and then decreased unstably until the 19,000s. From 1910 to 1950, birth rate stagnated, except when it lowered during World War II. From 1950 onwards, birth rate went from 43 children to 15. Death rate was unknown from 18,000s to 19,000s. However, after 1960s, the death rate was going down. Basing ourselves over countries' death rate trends, we can predict it was high during the unknown data period and slowly decreased. Population in Brazil was unknown until the 1950s. However, we can observe a very steady increase that has probably been approximately equal to that for all time. GDP per capita in Brazil was unknown from the 18,000s to the 1950s. However, after the 1950s, we can observe an unsteady increase per capita. $14,810 is the present-day GDP per capita. Child mortality stagnated at 450 children per 1,000 until the 1930s, when it had a steady decrease until only 12 children per 1,000 in present day. The 1950s population pyramid shows there was a very high birth rate, but also a high mortality rate, making the population have more children than elderly people and a low amount of working-class people. This was caused by the low life expectancy and the high infant mortality rate. The 2010 population pyramid showed that infant mortality rate lowered down. Life expectancy was still low, however. It did increase, making people between 20 and 40 make the majority of the population. The expected 2060 population pyramid shows that birth rate will be very low, at between 0 to 4. The population will stand between 50 to 7 years old, with a medium life expectancy. This density map shows that areas in the northwest are very sparsely populated. This is because there is the Amazon. However, on coast areas, such as Rio de Janeiro, São Paulo, and Recife in the east, are very dense. In the middle of the country, population is not very dense, apart from the capital city, Brasilia. This GDP map shows that areas with high density, such as São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, have a very high GDP, especially São Paulo. The Amazonian zone, however, with low density, is very poor. This annual rainfall map shows that areas of high density have a medium rainfall, ranging around 1,600 to 1,900 millimeters per year. However, in lower density zones, there is either very low annual rainfall in the northeast or in the northwest, where there is very high annual rainfall. The tropical rainforest, as seen in this map, is located in the northwest, and you can observe that on the density map, this area is not densely populated. However, coast and mangrove areas have high density, and areas such as the savanna are medium. According to these pyramids, we can observe that in 2010, Brazil was between stage 3 to 4 on the demographic transition model, an area where birth rate is going down, death rate is very low, and population is slowly increasing. In 2016, based on the projected pyramid, Brazil could probably have reached stage 5. Our objectives in population are these. Our first objective is to augment the GDP per capita and create a growth in economy. This can be done through an increase in businesses, such as tourism. Our second objective is that once a growth in economy is observed, money should be spent on health and sanitary infrastructures that would be accessible for many people, especially in the lower class. This would augment life expectancy. Our third objective would be to put in place a 2 or more baby policy. 2 babies per family would keep the population stable, so as to always have people in working age and a future for the country. The policy should be put in place in less dense areas such as Brasilia and Goiânia. This would promote a growth in economy. Our fourth and last objective would be to move the population into rural areas and also to spread it out. We would move people from the Amazon and poorer areas in the northwest to zones between Brasilia and Sao Paulo in the middle of Brazil. This would equilibrate density, as we would also move Sao Paulo citizens into less dense areas in the savannah.